topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the host and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Welcome to the Ask the Expert Show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV, where we bring you educational information from experts on such topics as legal, health, financial, and home improvement. Now sit back and listen to our experts in community association law, estate planning law, tax relief, Medicare, public insurance adjusters, neuropathy treatment, business brokers, and personal injury law, along with many other topics. Now here's your host for the last 17 years, Steve O.
Good morning to our TikTok audience, as well as our YouTube and our 70 other platforms. Welcome to the Ask the Expert Show, where for the last 17 years, we have bringing you the top experts in the field of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. Speaking of 17 years, our show for the next hour has been with us basically 17 years. We go all the way back to when we were on radio. I mean, that is a long time ago. And I want to just, this show to me is so easy to do because you guys send in your questions. And it's such an important topic. And I got to tell you, seeing all the things online about tax relief companies and the scams that are going on out there, it makes me feel so good that we have one of the most reputable tax relief companies in taxation solutions. And I call Barry Fowler, my friend. Good morning, Barry.
Hey, good morning, Steve-O. Man, I'm glad to have friends like you and helping us and getting the information out to all the listeners out there here on W4CY Radio, TikTok, and every other platform, YouTube that you guys are on. Man, I enjoy doing the show because we get to bring information to people that they listen to the radio and you just never know what you're going to get. You look at Facebook. And even I see all kinds of ads out there about, hey, we can get you an instant solution, or they offering compromise, or pennies on the dollar. And some of these things I got to laugh about because I sit in education classes all the time because we got to have minimum hours of continuing education. But I take a lot more than that just to make sure that I have more knowledge than any of the IRS agents or anybody else that's dealing with them has. And what they promote is, hey, you're a CPA, you can just go out and do this. And you get people entering this industry thinking they can do this and they have no clue what they're doing. But what they're telling them is, hey, don't worry about it. You can learn on those people's dime and you can learn as you go. You can't do anything wrong. Man, you could screw up the world if you don't know what you've got to do and how you've got to fight the IRS to stop them in their tracks. And that's the nice thing we get to do is bring this information out to help individuals understand and look for the right company, or if they're going to do it themselves, kind of give them a little bit of guidance.
Barry, the reason why I brought that up, because we get so many emails, after 17 years, you develop a huge list. And I got to tell you, a lot of people say, and I know you know this, a lot of people say, I went with one of those big companies and they made me all kind of promises and I didn't know any better. I had to go by them. And the first red flag I noticed with these people is after I paid them, I might have a message, just, update me what's going on. And 2 or 3 weeks later, they call them back. I mean, there was different people, same problem. And they felt after a while that they were scammed. So they got to a point where they said, I don't trust anybody. But I got to tell you, I really enjoy Barry Fowler's show, though. And I really want to get out there, Barry, that just because you had a problem with one company doesn't mean everybody's like that.
No, we are different than 90% of the industry that's out there. We do everything we can for client services. We try to make sure that everybody is kept up to date on their cases. If you're calling us, we're returning phone calls or we're answering the phone calls, here live. We do have an answering service so that if you can't get through to us because our lines are busy or we're in the middle of talking with the IRS, somebody's going to be able to answer you. And then we will be back in touch with you. We want to communicate with you. We want to keep you up to date. And that's what we do. We're reaching out to you. If we can't reach you by phone, they're sending you a text. They're sending you an email. We get clients that tell us, you stop. And we're like, no, we won't. We want to keep you up to date because we need you to be a part of this. Yeah, you're not going to talk to the IRS. You're not dealing with the IRS, but we are on your behalf. And therefore, you've got to stay in the loop. And that's what we try to do is keep everybody in the loop. Yeah, there may be some months there is nothing really going on. We're in a holding pattern waiting on the IRS, or we've got a hold and we're waiting on you to provide us information. Whatever the case is, we're still staying in touch with you to let you know, hey, this is the status. We still have the hold. If we've got a 6-month hold or something on the account and we're trying to get through everything to get maybe an offering compromise or a partial pay installment agreement in place, we're communicating with you. Hey, we need this so we can get this done. We need this, so we can get this done. Or if we have that offer sitting out there and it may be there with the IRS 6 months, 8 months, 12 months, 16 months, every month we're calling you and telling you, hey, it's still pending with the IRS. We're aware of where the status is. Make sure you're staying in compliance. All these little things that help you and help us to put a solution in your case that's right.
Barry, and people, you're probably seeing me looking down. I'm looking down at questions, people from TikTok. I have to share this with you. We went with TikTok about 2 months ago. It was the greatest thing I think we ever did. I was trying to decide doing the show in Spanish because you have a lot of Hispanics in South Texas, as we do here in Florida. And I was trying to decide which way to go, and we decided to go for now TikTok. And I got to tell you, your last show, because you always wonder how people perceive the show, the ones who don't write in. And Barry's last show, I just want to share this with the audience. We had 462 people watching the show at TikTok, and actually won some kind of award. I have no idea what it means because people stayed on so long. But this is the part I want to say. We had 399 likes. That really made me feel so good because the whole purpose of the show is to educate you and to bring people in that you can trust. And Barry, I noticed that some of the letters that still people are embarrassed the situation that they're in. And you told me a long time ago, and I always think about it, when you come to Barry Taxation Solutions, you're in the no judgment zone.
Absolutely. I mean, we have no reason to pass judgment on you. What we're trying to do is help you. We've heard it all before. And every now and then somebody amazes me and comes up with something different. But 99% of the time, people have similar problems all across the country. We don't just represent people here in Texas and the Houston area. We represent clients all across the United States. Everybody that has a tax problem with the IRS or even their states, we're here to assist and help them, not pass judgment. sometimes it's the IRS that's completely wrong. And, hey, we got to fix that problem and get the IRS corrected so we can get you out of the problem that way. And sometimes they're only 50% wrong, and we make those corrections and get that corrected and go. So it's not always your fault as a taxpayer. Yeah, you get into a situation, maybe you started a business and you couldn't afford anybody to consult, but all of a sudden you're making money and you get to filing that tax return and you owe a bunch of money. Well, why is anybody going to pass judgment on you? That's why we are a no judgment zone. Hey, call us. We're going to walk you through the problem. We're going to help you and find a way to get you out of the problem and then keep you out of the problem in the future as well, to find ways to reduce those taxes, not just today, but tomorrow and the next year and the next year. We want to keep you out of having issues with the IRS so that you never have to be looking over your shoulder on what they're going to do.
I want to get this in because we rarely talk about this, Barry. This is from TikTok. I just found your show last week, and I had a question, and I just found how to send it in. Does your firm also do CPA work?
So no, we're not CPAs. We are enrolled agents. We are licensed by the U.S. Department of Treasury to represent taxpayers to the highest level of the IRS. Now, there's a huge difference. Yes, CPA, I don't renew my license, but CPAs don't just do taxes. They're doing accounting, they're doing audits for SEC and other things. They're trained to do all kinds of other stuff. Whereas enrolled agents like myself and a lot of my staff are trained to represent you against the IRS. My dad when I decided that, hey, I was going to go and sit for this EA exam and become an enrolled agent, he's like, oh, so you're going to go work for the IRS? I said, oh, no, Dad. This is not working for the IRS. This is working 100% against the IRS to fight for our clients and the rights of our clients to get them the best settlements when they owe money or they're going through an audit or, maybe they have payroll taxes for their business, whatever it is. I'm representing the taxpayer against that dreaded IRS. And so our expertise is purely 100% in tax, where CPA, they learn, audit on books, on financials. They learn, how to do accounting, things like that. And they're not always trained 100% in doing taxes. Matter of fact, I found it amazing when I was sitting down for this enrolled agent exam, and I was a CPA as well at the time and renewed my license. And I'm sitting there talking to other people. We had CPAs that were taking this exam that have taken it 5, 6, 7 times. And I'm like, you guys are CPAs and you've been doing taxes? Yeah, we've been doing taxes. And it's taking you how long to pass this thing? Doesn't make sense. I passed it the first time going through, and I still don't understand. If you're going to be representing taxpayers, you should be able to pass this EA exam and be able to step out here and just represent clients and then help them save money on their taxes. Whether it's finding every single tax deduction, finding tax credits, finding things that other people don't look at, even for businesses. Should I be an S Corp? Should I be a multi-member partnership? Should I be a LLC taxed as an S Corp or a partnership? These are all decisions. You've got to sit down with somebody that's an expert at taxes to make that decision, along with representation when you have a tax problem.
Barry, I want to remind everybody, you have your own show on our platforms every Monday at 10 o'clock Eastern time.
Yeah, we have Tax Talk, the number 4 letter U.com. So you can go over there and follow us. And then every Monday at 10 a.m. Eastern time, right after Ask the Experts, it's at 9 a.m. Eastern time here on W4CY Radio. So you can watch Ask the Experts and then tune in to us. I talk about all kinds of things. We talked the other day about politics and taxes. We talked about IRS settlements and what relief can you get. And that was just yesterday's program. So we talk about all those things, as well as, bookkeeping, the tax deductions, tax credits, things that are going to help you in your life with your taxes. See, not everybody wants to use a tax professional. A lot of people think I'm a do-it-yourselfer. Just like sometimes I think I'm a do-it-yourselfer when it comes to electrician or plumbing. My wife disagrees with me. So as I start, she's already got the electrician on the other line going, hey, come help my husband because he's fixing to mess this up really bad. Well, hey, we give out a lot of information. But again, if you're trying to do tax relief by yourself, man, a lot of times you make a bigger mess than just hiring somebody to do it. We can solve your problem. But it actually starts by calling us. We do free consultation. We can also do a tax analysis for you, but you got to give us a call. It's 888-930-1016. Again, 888-930-1016, or just go to taxationsolutions.net. First off, don't be afraid to call. Remember, we have a no judgment zone here. It's a free call, free consultation. Even if you choose not to go with us, at least talk to us. We're going to give you the good, the bad, the ugly. You may not like it because somebody's going to sell you that pipe dream that you think, hey, this is wonderful. God bless you. We wish you the best of luck. No hard feelings. But we want to make sure you get the information before you make that decision.
Hey, Barry, how many times have you talked to a potential client and they really didn't like what you had to say, so they went try to find someone else until they found out what you were saying was actually true, and they came back to you?
The conversation with our clients, or potential clients and prospects up front, every day we get somebody that says, well, XYZ tax relief said they could get me an offer in compromise. And I just shake my head and I go, and I'm just using a generic name, Joe, look, that's not possible. You have too much equity in your house and you have too much income coming in between you and your wife. That is not going to happen. XYZ said it is. Okay. Let me explain to you why it doesn't. Yeah, but XYZ said it is. Okay, how much are they charging you? $9,000. Well, Joe, that's kind of like $9,000 that you just threw away out in the wind, and you're not going to get what you expect. But they're going to get their money. You're going to get a payment plan, and it may not even be the right payment plan because what did they do? They filed the offer in compromise. 6 months later, it got kicked back because you make too much money, and there's not even a question about it. Now they go, well, now you got to pay for an installment agreement. So now you're out even more money. So you kind of got to watch out for those scams. These guys are just salespeople. They're not enrolled agents answering the phones. They're not somebody that knows what's going on. They don't have the experience like my staff does of 10, 15, 20, 30 years of dealing with the IRS.
Barry, we just got this is a sad story. It's just written to us on TikTok. Her husband has owed the IRS for 3 years. And apparently it's really hurt their marriage. But he keeps, I'm sure you've heard this before, he keeps procrastinating. And I am so afraid, first of all, that it doesn't seem to bother him. What do you tell someone to motivate them to give your company a call?
So I'm kind of going to be funny here. Tell them to man up, pick up the phone. It's a free call, free consultation. What's it going to really hurt you? Even if you don't do anything, just give us a call at 888-930-1016. Mention Ask the Experts. We'll give you special discounts. Again, it's 888-930-1016, and it's called Man Up. Deal with the problem. Now, if this money was pre-divorce, Hey, sometimes you just got to separate things between you and him. If it's joint debt that you have since you got married, um, as long as you're together, you guys are both going to have to figure this out somehow together. You can call us. We can get started working with you and get the payment plan or partial pay installment agreement, whatever we need to do to start getting this debt settled with the IRS. And, it starts with doing a transcript analysis, investigation, figuring out if the IRS is right. Maybe there's something we can do to help you guys that will reduce that tax burden, as well. But again, it starts with giving us a call at that 888-930-1016. Mention Ask the Experts, get the discount. But tell your husband, Mr. Fowler said, man up and man up today, make the phone call. Now, he may not like that. So maybe he'll call and just yell at me, but at least he called, right?
Barry, I hate to do this on such a beautiful day, but would you tell people if they keep putting this off and putting this off, what could happen to them?
Well, it's a beautiful day. I refuse. I'm just not going to talk and disappoint anybody or make them upset that the IRS can levy your bank account or garnish your wages. I'm not going to talk about any of that stuff because it's a beautiful day. All kidding aside, IRS is the most powerful collection agency there is, in my opinion, the world. I guess if the KGB when Russia does collections, I guess they would be more powerful than the IRS. But the IRS has the ability to do pretty much anything they want as long as they follow, the law. But once you've got that letter, final notice of intent to levy, whether you opened it or not, whether you went down and signed for the certified letter or not, they can levy your bank account. They can come out and do field visits. They can notify and ask questions of your friends, families, and neighbors. So if you're afraid to talk about it and you continue to avoid them and ignore them, they can resort to extreme measures. I mean, we had a client who owed the IRS. Now, this is an extreme amount, close to $1 million. So not only they decided to go out before they were a client of ours to do an undisclosed field visit, went to see them at their home, tried to intrude into their home, which they're not allowed to do. They went and talked to their neighbors, which you've been notified. They can go talk to their neighbors. They started calling their employers, and they started to levy against the husband who was running a business and was getting 1099s and levied all his contract work. So he had no money coming in. Now imagine trying to make ends meet for your business, make ends meet for your family, and you ignored it. And that's the things that can happen. Called us, man. We put a kibosh on a lot of things for them. Stopping the IRS in their tracks. We found some things that the IRS shouldn't have done and did not notify the clients of. We didn't see the letters go out, didn't have permission from a manager. All these things we were able to go through and do, and did a collection due process hearing and stop the IRS right now in their tracks so we can get them into a plan. The revenue officer we're dealing with right now does not want to comply with what we want, but we made an incredible offer through the CDP hearing, and it looks like we'll get our terms accepted and get this off their back finally. But man, the things that happen when you ignore can be devastating, not just to your family, but to your business. I mean, imagine having clients that now know that you owe the IRS, whether it's $50,000 or $1 million, the number doesn't matter.
Right.
It's really embarrassing to you and your family and your business when everybody else gets notified by it. So start today to put the plan in place or get somebody working for you, whether it's us or somebody else. Check them out. Make sure they're A+ rated in the BBB like we are, and then get things going so that you don't have to look over your shoulder or worry what the IRS is going to do to you, your family, or your business. And it starts with that simple phone call, 888-930-1016. Again, mention Ask the Experts, and we'll give you some great discounts.
So, Barry, I just saw in the paper the other day, Bob McNair's wife passed away. I think he was the owner of the Houston Oilers before they left town, I think. But anyway, the reason I brought that up is I am so in awe of you because I always thought going up, because, I used to be a sports agent and I go up against these owners and these general managers to negotiate contracts. And these were high powered negotiators. But what you do when you go up against the IRS every day, that's 2 steps above what I ever did. And you deal with this every day. Like you say, they're the most powerful collection agency. And that's all you do is you negotiate with the IRS.
The interesting part and the difference there is when you were dealing with the owners and stuff like that, you had to return to deal with the same person over and over.
Yes.
We get to return and deal with different people all the time. And we have to sometimes train those people on what they were supposed to be doing that they didn't do, or the rules in the manual that they didn't follow. And so we get different people all the time. The other beautiful part is sometimes I get agents on the phone that just can't comprehend anything, and it's time just to start over, and we just hang that phone up, make another phone call, sit on hold for quite a while, get a new agent, and maybe we get done what we wanted to get done because they're more reasonable and they understand what the code is. So there is a difference out there. We don't have to deal with the same person over and over. We get different people all the time, although I've got a priority line that sometimes I get the same agents and we have a good rapport and it works out great. I've had people that I've worked with consistently over, months, and then all of a sudden they disappear and we don't know where they've ever gone to. Had a young lady that I actually had their direct line to, which isn't usual in this case. But anytime I needed penalty abatements, I called. I pretty much got them. So it was really nice, and we get other agents that are able to do the same thing, for me as we go through. So, the big difference is yes, I got to fight these guys. I've got to train these guys, and I don't have to go back in and see the same person necessarily over and over, especially when they're incompetent. And even owners of some of the football and baseball teams, in my opinion, can be incompetent, or their general managers. But you can't change them out. I wish you could sometimes. Even when you're rooting for your favorite sport team, you want to go, man, I want to change that general manager out. It ain't going to happen. I can't hang up the phone and get a new one. So dealing with the IRS, sometimes it's very difficult. A lot of times they want you jumping through major hoops to get the solution that the client deserves, but you're going to do it because hey, this is what we've got to do to get them the best solution possible and the best solution allowed by law.
You don't ever brag about this. I get to brag about this for you, but I'll never forget, Barry, when we've been doing this for as long as we've done it, I've got so many Barry Fowler stories. But one of my favorite is still when you went over the agent's head because you knew you were right.
Oh, absolutely. In multiple cases, we get to dealing with, revenue agents or revenue officers and other people there at the IRS, and not every one of them is fully trained, or a lot of times we call them and they're still going through training and stuff like that. But in multiple cases, we get to where, hey, this is what we want, and this is what we know will work, and we can all agree to this. And they're telling me, no, they can't do this, they can't do that. And I'll just pick up the phone and call the manager and talk to the manager and get it done, the right way. If the manager doesn't want to follow the rules, we go to the CDP hearing. We make them reject our offer so that we can go to collection due process hearing and get what we want done. So we know what the rules are. We know what the steps are. We know how we got to go over the revenue officer's head or the revenue agent's head, or even get past the manager. We had another client who owed quite a bit of money to the offer to the IRS. We made an incredible offer of a payment plan. It more than paid the IRS back within the statute of limitations. The client wanted to get rid of this debt, but they could only do so much. So, we went in and, made an offer of quite a bit of money a month. And the revenue officer came back and said, no, we want them to sell property. We want them to sell their house. And we want an extra $10,000 a month above what you offered. I said, that's unreasonable. You can't do that. Oh, yes, I can. I can do whatever I want. My manager's going to let me take that house. I said, well, first off, there's no equity in that house. So why are you going to take it? It's not even worth the IRS's effort. They're not going to do it. I guarantee it. Oh, no, you're wrong. Hey, I know I'm right. Called the manager. Manager went, Mr. Fowler, you're correct. We're not going to do that. No, I'm not going to let them do it. And your offer, no, we want to compromise and go 5,000 above. No, sir, we can't do that. They can't afford to do it. They won't be able to make the payments. No, that's what we're going to stick to. We went to the next step, collection due process hearing, when they rejected it. And actually, we went to the collection due process hearing and we dropped the payment we wanted to pay by over $5,000, and they accepted it. So we won. Those are the things that we get to do sometimes when we're stepping over their heads to make things work for our client. And we're going to do everything we can in our power to get the right plan in place for you within the laws of the IRS.
Here's a great question. Just came in from TikTok. He said, I listen to a lot of podcasts and I found yours. I was going to listen to it for a few minutes and I'm still here listening. What a great job you do. I like the way you're not doing a sales job on us. You're actually educating us. My question is, does the IRS look down upon us if we hire a company like yours?
The funny story here is there are some revenue agents or revenue officers who frown upon you hiring somebody because, as a revenue officer told me just last month, why'd they hire you? I was trying to work with them. And I went, okay, so what did you want them to do? Because I'm here to help my client who hired me to come in and kind of told me what you were asking for. Well, I wanted them to full pay, and I'm trying to figure out a way and help them find a way to full pay me as soon as possible, or I'm going to levy their bank account. Well, ma'am, first off, you've already levied every one of his clients that he was working for, so he has no money coming in whatsoever. Well, how are you getting paid? Well, he hired me to do a tax analysis, and I offered to make this one phone call to figure out what's going to happen, and maybe we can get these levies released so he can start setting up a payment plan to afford to pay you. But right now, he's doing zip, zero, nada, and work, so he has no money. Well, I'm trying to help him. Well, that levy against his clients was your way of helping him do what? So you see, this revenue officer decided they didn't need me because she was giving them all the assistance they needed by doing what? Levying his clients. He gave them the roadmap, kind of told them who he was still working for, and they went right after it and levied because he couldn't afford to do what she wanted to do, was full pay today and now. So that's the kind of help that you get when they say, hey, I'm going to help you. I think Ronald Reagan said it best, and I know I repeat this one. I loved Ronald Reagan, as president, but he said, point blank, when you hear I'm here from the government and I'm here to help, run for the hills. What Ronald Reagan forgot to tell you was call taxationsolutions.net at 888-930-1016. We will help you run from the IRS agent who thinks they're there to help you.
Barry, I don't think people realize, they hear about offer and compromise, but you've got so many other things in the toolbox that if something doesn't fit their situation, you've got other ways.
You've seen the ads like, okay, we talked about Toolbox. So everybody that's listening and has their phones around them on Amazon, you're going to see ads now for toolboxes. Okay, I promise you. But when you see the toolboxes, they have, imagine even bigger than that of the tools in our arsenal. So I don't think anybody sells arsenals on Amazon, so you're safe on that one. But yeah, we use many different ways to get the solution that's right for our clients. Each client we look at individually and come up with their individual solution. We have a client right now today that what we're working with them on is getting through some statute of limitations to get the statutes to run out, to get some debt to fall off before we go in and set up their installment agreement, which is going to be like a partial pay installment agreement. So they won't even pay the full debt. But hey, stalling a few months is going to get $30,000 or $40,000 to drop off of their debt from the IRS. And then we put that partial pay installment agreement and we'll get another 50 or 60 to fall off over the next couple of years. And they won't be paying that much because they can't afford it. Now, if you would have went with somebody else, what they were suggested, and the client told me as they came to me, was they were suggested to go with an offer and compromise. Well, the offer and compromise would have gotten rid of quite a bit of debt, but they would have paid a little bit more down. But then they're on the hook for that debt for 5+ years once it's accepted. So if they fall out of compliance, that debt comes rushing back. Our agreement that we're setting up with the IRS is going to actually have them pay less over the next 4 years than they would have paid in doing the offer and compromise. And all the debt will fall off and go away. Yeah, they still got to stay in compliance. But think of it this way. Statute of limitations run out a little bit at a time. Every year, you're probably getting some of the years to fall off. So as you move 2 years, 3 years, or 4 years through this agreement, 2 or 3 years of debt may fall off as well. And then maybe you're down to, you fall out of compliance in the 4th year, you may only owe $5,000 or $10,000 left. And that's a lot better than if you would have fallen out of compliance in an offer and all maybe $100,000 or $200,000 come flooding back and you owe it all plus penalties and interest, because you've got to have that compliance feature out there. So we look at every case, each and one individually, to make the decision of what's right for you.
Barry, we talk about individual taxes due, but you do a lot of work with businesses also.
Oh, absolutely. It's everything from people that have missed payroll tax payments and payroll tax deposits to looking at their company and why, if they're running a company, why are they set up as a Schedule C when maybe they should be a multi-member LLC, or maybe they should be S Corp, whatever the status is. We're looking to educate our clients and help them reduce the tax burden. So what a lot of people don't understand is you're running a business, you set up an LLC and you're a single member and you report on Schedule C. If you have $100,000 in net income, you're paying Social Security and Medicare tax on that whole $100,000 net income, 15.3%, $15,300 right off the top for Social Security and Medicare. Well, there could be a better way. Maybe your business needs to be an S corp. Maybe it needs to be a multi-member LLC with you and your wife, or husband and wife. We have a lot of different options and things in our arsenal that are going to look at to help you reduce the taxes. Maybe nobody suggested SAP plan or 401ks or other type of benefit plans that could benefit you as the business owner, that keeps more money in your pocket and less money in the IRS's pocket. So you've got to look at everything to help yourself. Now, if you owe payroll taxes, God bless you, don't fight them on your own unless you're just going to full pay them today, because they could turn around and hit you, the business owner, anybody else that signs on your checking account, with what they call trust fund penalties. That's the amount of money that you withheld from your employees' checks. That includes Social Security, Medicare that you withheld, that's 7.5%. It's going to include the federal income tax that you withheld, and all of that. You're not just liable for the company, but you could be held liable personally, as well as anybody else signing on your business checking account could be held liable personally as well. Get representation, whether it's here at Taxation Solutions or it's somewhere else. Get somebody that knows what they're doing and can represent you in that case, to try to keep those trust fund penalties from being assessed against parties that should not have any responsibility for it.
Some of these people's handles on TikTok, I can't say on the air, but we will ask their question though. Said, I just found your show. I'm a new listener. I will be listening again. Thank you so much for the information. Do I understand it right? If I sign with your company, that I will not have to field calls from the IRS anymore?
Well, you may get a phone call from the IRS, but if you get a phone call from the IRS, you tell them Mr. Fowler represents you. He's my enrolled agent, and you call this number, and you're going to have a direct line number to give to the IRS, and hang up the phone. You don't have to say goodbye. You don't have to be nice. You just got to say, hey, taxationsolutions.net at this number represents me, and hang up. Then turn around and call me and let me know who called you. And if they gave you a badge number, write that down. If you want to, you can ask them what their phone number is, and we'll give a direct phone call immediately back to that revenue officer that called you. The only reason they should be calling you is that they've set up communications with you already where you've already called them. They're not going to make outgoing phone calls to you just randomly. A lot of times when you owe tax debt, it's really not the IRS calling. You got to listen carefully to what these people are saying, especially if you have not been in conversation with somebody at the IRS. In that case, just ask them for their IRS ID number and their phone number, and then hang up the phone. Don't do anything more. Most times it's a solicitation. Most times they're just trying to gather information from you. Sometimes they're getting it from lien information that's at your county clerk's office to say that the IRS has a lien against you, and they're just doing solicitation. Sometimes it's just a pure scam. I get those phone calls sometimes to me. I love to play with them. But also I know I don't have any tax debt, and I know every single thing I need to say to keep them at bay and to keep them on the phone long enough to where they finally start cursing at me and telling me all kinds of things about myself, my wife, or my mother. And so I like to play sometimes when they call me, just because of my expertise, and they don't have anybody that actually knows what they're doing. They're just soliciting from you. I even had them tell me to go down to my local store and get them a debit card or pay card or whatever those things are, to pay them. And I went, well, the nearest store to my ranch is over 120 miles away. Can they hold on while I drive there to go get it? And the guy said, sure. I left him on hold for about 2 hours and came back and went, they don't offer these cards anymore. Where else should I go? And he was still on the line, which was really stupid on his part. But hey, whatever. Um, so you kind of got to watch. But yes, when I represent you, you don't ever deal with the IRS. You give them our number and you hang up. That's all you got to do.
I want to remind people Barry's show is every Monday. He does an hour-long show, sometimes right after our show on Mondays. His show is at 10 p.m. Eastern Time.
AM.
AM, yes, but Eastern Time. And Barry, I got to tell you, there's one thing that I really want to get across. I've learned over the years with you is that people who try to handle the IRS themselves, thinking they're going to save themselves some money. How many times have you had someone to call you and actually you found out they actually hurt themselves more by talking to the IRS themselves?
Oh, quite a bit. We bail people out of their situations that they cause. Sometimes you're out there on a ship and it's a sinking ship because you're giving out too much information or the wrong information or misspoke. The IRS convinced you of something and you agreed to it. And now we've got to start bailing you out to get your ship uprighted and going. And that's kind of what we do. We want to help you no matter what your situation is. Even if, your boat is capsized and you feel like you're drowning, we're going to throw you that life vest out there and, raise you up and get you back into the right footing to where, hey, you're not drowning in the water anymore, that you're getting your life back. And that's kind of what we do. We're your lifesaver, your life preserver, things to keep your head above water and just get you back, your life back. Because, I know I'm long-winded, and that's what I thought you were going to tell me is I'm just long-winded.
No.
But, and that's why I do my own show, because I could talk for an hour and, people go, man, how can you do this? Well, man, I have fun. But getting your life back and getting out of the problem with the IRS kind of does multiple things. And I've had people tell me this before. Yeah, you helped me get my life back. Yeah, we got everything back in order, but my wife loves me again. There's not as much stress in my family. I actually, for the first time when I hired you, got a good night's sleep. I'm not stressed with my kids or my dogs or my animals, my cats, or whatever it may be. I'm not stressed around them anymore. And that's the kind of relief that we like to hear and like to give to people that are out there.
Well, Barry, I got to tell you, I have really enjoyed doing the show with you for the last 17 years. And you're a friend. God, it's so easy to do your show because I know the important questions to ask. I know that someone is listening who's got a problem right now. It's going, that's me. And even if you've had a problem with another company in the past, I promise you, you're not going to have a problem with taxation solutions. Let's tell people again, Barry, how they can reach you.
All right, it's taxationsolutions.net. Again, taxationsolutions.net. And it's a free call, free consultation, 888-930-1016. Again, 888-930-1016. And then mention Ask the Experts. I'll say that number again because we know people are listening out there, not always writing it down. It's 888-930-1016. Hey, Ask the Experts, man, has great podcasts. And you can find our podcast with Ask the Experts on YouTube, iHeart, Spreaker, Spotify. I don't know what all of them are.
I know.
Many out there. But you can find them. And if you're watching on YouTube, at the bottom, it scrolls and has our number and our website as well. I urge you just to reach out to us for that free consultation and that free call. Let us get started. 888-930-1016. Hey, Steve-O, again, thank you very much. I appreciate Ask the Experts and everything you do. God bless you. God bless everybody that's listening, whether it's on TikTok, YouTube, iHeart, wherever. Have a great and glorious week.
And Barry's going to be back with us again twice next month Barry, you're the best, bro.
Thank you. Thanks again, Steve-O, and thanks everybody for listening. And we'll be back next month.
Tell the wife hi for us. We'll see you
Will
soon.
do.
That's Barry Fowler, Taxation Solutions. That's going to do it for us today. Hey, we'll be back again with you next week with more Ask the Experts.
Thanks for tuning in today to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV. Tune in next week and every week to hear more from our experts on personal injury, insurance, air condition repairs, estate planning, Medicare, and many other topics in the areas of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. See you next week.